Welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I am your host, Dan, aka Smash-O-Mash, broadcasting from the planet Smashtron 9. We are looking at your pathetic Earth, Sun, Star device. Something funky's going on with the 335 angstroms, folks. I don't know what's up with it. It's been blurry, as you can see. I don't know why the other wavelengths look fine. That's actually 335 plus 131 angstroms. Some kind of a disparity in the timing there or something. One wavelength's got funky timestamps. Looks like we may have a CME propagating as we stream the video. Right here at the end of the 24-hour video there, you can see some plasma instability happening there. It looks like there could be a CME propagating as we speak. So here's a colorized magnetogram. We are expecting possibly another sunspot group to get named down here in the southwest. Besides that, pretty low levels of solar activity here. There's a second sunspot. This one down here doesn't have a name yet. It'll be 3128, I think. Let's take a look at volcanoes. We've got a new one on the list here. Bulusan in the Philippines, having its alert level raised. So first, Mount Tal is producing a 2,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Bulusan raised to level 1, low-level unrest. There's some ground inflation happening there, some seismic station activity, 126 weak earthquakes between 0 and 5 kilometers depth. So likely from magma motion there. Uplift on the south and southwestern flank of the volcano. Hydrothermal activity started to be elevated also. Mount Ibu in Indonesia. Ground report of eruption and a 7,000-foot ash plume. 14,000-foot ash plume over Semeru. That's a flight level 140. Kerinci on the Isle of Sumatra has been exploding. 15,000-foot ash plume there. Flight level 150. Popocatépetl, flight level 190 as it explodes in central Mexico. Fuego in Guatemala exploding, flight level 160. It's a 16,000-foot ash plume. 20,000-foot ash plume over Colombia from Nevado del Ruiz. 2 exploding volcanoes in Ecuador, including Sangay and Revenador. Flight level 220 over Sangay. No indication of ash plume size over Revenador. And last but not least, Sabancaya. Looks like it's the most active volcano in the world. Located in Peru, it's exploding and producing a flight level 270, a 27,000-foot ash plume. Here's your seismic activity for the past 90 days. And we did indeed see a large quake off the coast of Panama. That was our largest quake of the past 24. It was a 6.7 magnitude. Likely felt in large portions of the isthmus. An isthmus, a landmass that is in between 2 bodies of water. Yes, Panama. 6.7 magnitude quake coming in at 11:57 yesterday there, near Boca Chica. So quite a few quakes there around the Pacific Rim. No other large quakes. At least none over a 6 magnitude. Quite a bit of activity there north of the Kermadec Islands there, northeast of New Zealand. Including one that came in just recently here. Some Alaskan quakes happening, some quakes around the Japan, Philippines region. Southwest Indian Ridge seeing a 5.0. And now it's time. Time to get back to space with our SDO imagery in 304 angstroms. So this sunspot here looking like it may have produced a CME. We'll have to see what happens. We may have to make another video about that. Radio flux now at 116 solar flux units, and we do see some upward pressure here, some upward pressure I would call it. I used to be a day trader, and we're seeing upward pressure around the 120 solar flux units mark on the radio flux. It's that black line, and as you can see here, it looks like upward pressure, folks, for all you market nerds. The red line is the sunspot number. The black line is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. Space weather enthusiast dashboard, not forecasting any space weather here, just expecting geomagnetic calm conditions. We are sort of expecting to see a mild CME impact here sometime in the day tomorrow, like mid to late day. On the 22nd, I believe, was the forecast. Watch our previous video for details about that. A minor incoming CME about to happen. Let's take a look at the Earth's geospace. So here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space out to about 12 Earth diameters. The units scaled here are in nanopascals, which is magnetohydrodynamic pressure. Things pretty calm here, geomagnetically speaking. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. The units scaled here are nanotesla, which is magnetic flux density. Geospace delta B refers to changes to Earth's B field. The B field being the field that goes through the magnet. We'll show you the sun's B field momentarily. Here's Earth's. KP index once again at 1.33 for the last 3 days now. We've reported every time we make a video it's at 1.33. What's up with that? Maybe it has to be refreshed. Indeed not. It is 1.33. So geomagnetically calm conditions here. Current conditions for the solar wind are 358 kilometers per second for the speed. Solar wind density about 8.3 protons per cubic centimeter. We may have seen a minor impact yesterday of a CME. It looks like there may be a small signal right in here. It's quite minor. We do see a shift in the phi angle with an otherwise fairly consistent signal there. And then we see a decrease in the solar wind density and an increase in the solar wind speed for a brief period and a change in the plasma temperature. So that might have been the CME impact that we talked about a few days ago. Very minor, barely even showing up as a signal there. It was looking diffuse when it left the corona in the first place. Next we'll look at some magnetic data here. Here is the GOES magnetometer information for the past 3 days. The GOES 16 and GOES 17 are geosynchronous satellites. They orbit at about 22,000 miles of altitude. Those arc jet moments are thruster use to maintain that geosynchronous orbit. And let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet. By the way, this data is part of the National Sunspot Observatory if you want to look at it yourself. It's the GONG 2 PFFS, which stands for Potential Field PFSS, Potential Field Surface Source Lines. And Earth remains right now in a South Pole-oriented current sheet. North Pole current sheet coming soon, just arriving at stereo A as we stream the video. And good morning to you, Tin Man 1057. Here's the sun's line of sight field plot. Solar B field shown here in blue. Solar polar fields in green for north, red for south. Also the solar magnetogram. And let's move to coronal holes. What evil lurks in the depths of coronal holes? Well, high-speed coronal hole wind streams. There's protons coming from them there holes. They're like solar low-pressure systems, interestingly. And stars are so rowdy that their low-pressure systems send plasma, charged particles, mostly in the form of hydrogen nuclei, also some helium nuclei, electrons, and other elements. They send those blasting out into the solar system at high rates of speed. Low pressure systems on stars are a little bit lower in terms of pressure than the low pressure systems on planets. We also do see some North Pole oriented coronal holes rotating in here in the northeast. Let's take a look at it visually from the SDO 211 angstroms wavelength. So there's your full disk view for the past 24 hours. Great imagery there of coronal holes. Significant reverberation happening here across the equatorial region of the sun. Again, that may be a CME happening. We'll have to see what we find. Here are some close-ups. That South Pole-oriented coronal hole there in the southern heliosphere. It's about to swallow the Earth and possibly even your souls. Just kidding, folks. The Earth isn't really located there. That's just for scale. Next, this North Pole-oriented coronal hole rotating in here. And let's move to sunspots. So I believe there's going to be a sunspot named right down here. Or you could say down here. It'll be 3128. I believe will be the name of that one. Besides that, fairly stable activity, a little bit of growth in sunspot 3127 in the past 24 hours. Here's some imagery from SDO magnetogram. And let's get a little closer and look at the SDO continuum. Again, you can see a little bit of growth here. And new sunspot forming down here. You can see some more activity happening down there. Next, we'll talk about solar flares. We did see a little increase in solar flaring yesterday. No spikes in the proton flux, though. No relativistic particles showing up in Earth's field-aligned currents. The GOES X-ray flux there, we did see some significant flaring yesterday, at least compared to what we have been seeing. We did see a nearly 6 magnitude C-class flare, a C5.97 flare. Peak flux around 1650 yesterday. Let's take a look at that in 94 angstroms. Those flares were coming from this setting active region up here in the northwest. By the way, that's the last 24 hours. And let's zoom out to show the full disk view. Since, hey, it's only the most detailed imagery of the sun and most comprehensive space weather that you'll find anywhere on the internet. Congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. Next, shifting gears to our star chart. If you're up before dawn, you might see Mars high in the sky. Also the moon up there. It's a waning crescent. Cygnus has already set. Deneb has already dipped below the northwestern horizon at our location here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Here is your solar system forecast. Let's bring this forward 1 week. New moon in about 4 days. That's where things will be in 1 week. We will have a crescent waxing moon. Next, some coronagraphs, and we did see some CMEs. I do not think that they are earthly directed. That's 106 frames from yesterday, October 20th. Great imagery there of Venus showing up. And here are 25 frames from today. Let's just refresh this. Still 25 frames. So again, there may be a CME. It could be an earthly directed one. It's pretty earthly oriented, perhaps. We'll have to, I'm going to actually refresh this here. So here's stereo A at Lagrange 5 and the Soho Lasco C3 at Lagrange 1. And let me just move these around for a minute. We're going to refresh the stereo A coronagraph. I want 90 frames. Whoops, let me try that again. I want 90 frames, I said. at 3 frames per second. It's the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center. So we've got pretty up-to-date data there. And let's see if we see anything new. Now we've got pretty old data on stereo A, unfortunately, so could be some earthly directed ejecta happening now. We may have to make another video later on that. So here's the last 24 hours. I don't believe any of these CMEs are earthly directed. One thing that's interesting here is like a crazy rebound of a CME, as if it's getting pulled back down toward the solar surface, or toward the chromosphere, or the corona, or whatever you'd like to call it. Here's a zoomed out version of that. Interesting activity there. It's sort of on the far side of the sun. I think it's associated with sunspot 3112. And it's about time to continue on here to our solar filaments view from the also part of the National Sunspot Observatory, by the way. This is the this is the El Teide, Spain ground-based hydrogen alpha telescope. Still a ton of filaments down here. Let me just load the newest data on that. So I think some ejecta might have just left this sunspot area here. Again, we'll have to wait for some additional data on that to get a definitive concept of what's going on, if anything. Sometimes all that plasma just splashes back down and doesn't produce a CME. So if it's directed perfectly at Earth, it's often a little hard to detect. Sometimes it stays behind the coronagraph obscurement disk. Good morning to you too as well. Mike Bordages. Pardon my double preposition. Continuing on, here is the house favorite 171 angstroms. SDO 171 over the past 24 hours. A little bit of lull in activity here as we watch Solar Cycle 25 continue to ramp up. It's got a long way to go. And this video's got a ways to go yet too, so let's get to the satellite community dashboard for our bonus features segment. No charging hazards there for satellites showing up. There is the measurement from the GOES 16 and the GOES 17. They measure the electron flux at the F layer of the ionosphere from their geosynchronous orbits. They use radiography to make that measurement. We're in a pretty nominal range here, nothing to write home about. There is the NOAA forecast, expecting a small decrease there in the electron flux. And as you can see from the 1-year graph here, it's just in the meaty part of the range. Let's take a look at the F ionosphere to look for things like anomalies. This is the vibrational frequency of the bridge between Earth and space. The F ionosphere located about 300 kilometers of altitude. And there's the imagery. It's from Australian Government Bureau Meteorology. And if you're not used to looking at that, I don't blame you. It's a little bit tough to understand. I don't blame you at all. Here is the anomalygram showing anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. So here's the latest image. That's 10 o'clock Universal Time. And by the way, you can look at some different types of data from this if you like. There's a lot of different data sets there at the Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology, Australian Space Weather Forecasting Center. Just on this ionosphere map alone, you can look at difference in megahertz from yesterday, difference in percentage from yesterday, anomaly in megahertz, and anomaly in percentage. You can also center your map on Australia or on 180 degrees longitude if you like. But that's the latest image. That's 10 o'clock Universal Time. Continuing on to our total electron content forecast. This will show you the most likely places for GPS errors. We are seeing some major GPS errors likely over North America here, so that may continue. Don't be surprised to see it do so. See, yesterday there were huge GPS errors over most of the lower 48. Even portions of southern Alaska seeing large GPS errors likely. What that's showing you is the total electron content from about 12,500 miles of altitude down to your handset. Free electrons cause signal refraction. Enough said about that. Here is the latest intensity gram and latest magnetogram. Again, a new sunspot about to get a name down here, I believe. That's a new minor group there. This one's beta gamma class. This one is looking like it's only alpha class at the moment. Possible new active region rising over here. Doesn't look like a sunspot yet. No umbre visible there. And of course, here's the most interesting sunspot. It's beta gamma delta class, barely. Holding on to that classification here. And let's bring up one more series of images here from SDO. This is yesterday plus today. Because it's time to shift gears and bring up the meteorology segment. Actually, let's zoom in on this for a minute. See that plasma reorganization happening at the very least and ejecting at the very most. Right there. You can see like a transverse wave there propagating across the surface of the closest star. Before we get to meteorology, check out our latest. This isn't our latest. It's our our featured product of the day. Do not pole vault the caldera. It's a message of positivity and perseverance. If you're going through hell, keep going. If you're going on vacation to an active volcano, leave your vault pole at home. Do not pole vault the caldera. It could be unhealthful. And we need you, the viewer, to watch the content. I'm wearing the socks right now. I'm not going to try to show them on camera, but I am wearing the socks. Comes in all kinds of different products there. So if you'd like to, they make great gifts, by the way. You'll find links below the video as well as on our homepage at smashomash.com. 23 designs offered there, listed in order of best selling. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. So check out the homepage if you haven't seen it before. Help us out with clicks. You can find our social media accounts there, a permanent Discord invite, as well as links to our latest sponsor/affiliate, Hemp Lucid. So check that out if you haven't seen that yet. Featuring the new Delta 8 gummies there. Getting rave reviews. Watermelon flavor is the featured flavor. And you'll also find the best sellers there like water-soluble CBD tincture, soft gels, CBD and MCT oil suspension, full-spectrum CBD for pets even showing up there. If you want to support the channel via subscription services, become a Gold or Silver Smash Team member. We typically send out email alerts to the Smash Team. There's even a Bronze membership, and if it's some sort of a disaster alert, it gets sent to Bronze level members as well. Additional content there for Gold or Silver members. In fact, we actually put up a video just last night, only visible to Gold or Silver members. So if you are a Gold or Silver member, don't forget to log in. Just click Posts, and you will see the posts for which you are authorized to view. You can also find a link on the home page, as well as on the Smash Team page, to SureMed, which is an association membership. So it's not insurance. It's a series of discounts and other services available only to SureMed members through the American Better Health Association, a nonprofit focused on improving the health of its members. You can get group insurance, but the base membership is just the association membership alone, which gives you things like doctors by phone, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians, discounts of 15 to 50% on dental services, including dental implants, discounts on vision products. The retail and mail order pharmacy is fantastic. Get huge discounts at your local pharmacy as well with using your SureMed card. It's worth it just for the pharmacy discounts, and certainly for the doctors by phone and veterinarians by phone if you have pets. Links below the video and on the homepage to SureMed. And last but not least, don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Thanks to all of our YouTube viewers for tolerating the pathetic censorship on the platform. We do appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to press like, subscribe, share, comment, tell us how you found the channel. Congratulations on doing so, by the way. As big tech self-destructs like the zombie corporations that they are, I don't know what their problem is, but for some reason we don't feel like we're being promoted. It's only the most detailed space weather and imagery of the sun you'll find anywhere on the internet. Elon Musk ought to be watching, as he might not have lost those Starlink satellites a few months ago. We forecasted the geomagnetic storm that he launched the satellites into, so why not tune in, Elon? Next, moving to the realm of meteorology, and let's pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So what we're looking at here is the ocean currents and sea surface temperatures. And you're going to see less and less cold water here because, well, it's what happens is when ice melts, it flows around and it sits on top of the ocean because fresh water is less massive than salt water. So when you see that cold water like that, that is partially a result of ice melt. Well, that's ending. So you're not going to see so much cold water injected deep into the south, into the jet stream, into the Gulf Stream like this. And in any case, guess what? The NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, has not shut down. Europe certainly has not seen a year without a summer. There is no grand solar minimum occurring. And everything looks pretty much hunky-dory there as we see that warm water still making it to places like Ireland and Iceland. So, yeah. Are you expecting to see no snow on the planet? Man, the Persian Gulf is looking pretty hot. And a bunch of hot water there around Oceania as well. Let's get back to what we usually show here. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Bit of a low pressure here over New Zealand at the moment. See that? I'm sorry, it's a high pressure. It's a counterclockwise rotation. High pressure there. Over New Zealand, likely clear skies. Over the island nation. Clear skies and an unclear, incoherent government. Next, jet streams of the eastern world. Strong low here in the northern Pacific. See that counterclockwise? That is an upper level low if ever there was one. Yowzers. And here are the jet streams of the Western world. Surface winds are looking like this. And here are the surface winds of the central world. We show them daily. And the jet streams of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East are looking thusly. I wanted to take a brief look at Global Cryosphere Watch here to see what's going on in terms of snow, since there's some in the forecast for the U.S. We'll get to it. First, our multi-sensor snow and ice cover map. So there you go, that's what's going on. And it's only October. There's a bit of snow there in the northern hemisphere. Now, it's not super high levels of extent. It's actually kind of on the low side, about 1 standard deviation below normal, at least for the 1998 to 2011 average. But there must be some deep snow up there because the snow water equivalent is at the high side of the standard deviation for 1998 through 2011. And the snow mass balance is really on the high side for the entire northern hemisphere, excluding mountains. That's probably because there is so much snow on Greenland. So there's the northern hemisphere snow extent. It's kind of at the low end of the range there. Remember, extent is just the two-dimensional portion, not referring to depth. Rutgers snow extent is looking like it's right in the middle of the 56-year mean. And let's take a look at the southern hemisphere. There you go. It looks like 2022 featured the most snow in the past 17 years. As far as Australia and New Zealand goes, kind of toward the high side there. And one big snow spike here toward the end of the snow season there at Australia and New Zealand. Japan snow depth map showing a blank for some reason. There's the NOAA snow cover map. And let's continue on. By the way, if people are watching the video and you think the Earth is flat, here's some in-your-face material. I know, it's CGI. It's CGI, right? Remember, folks, every digital photograph is CGI. So, if you have people on the internet requesting that you show them a photograph of the planet to prove that it is indeed an oblate spheroid, well, is one of them. It's the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. We show it regularly on the channel. Let's get to our weather.gov map. We've got a bunch of frost advisories here around the eastern U.S. and some winter storm watches here around Montana and Idaho especially. And let's take a look at some forecasts. So here is your positive snow depth change forecast based on the GFS model for the next 72 hours. And it's looking like there's going to be some heavy snow there, and most of Montana is going to be blanketed. About half of Idaho. Large portions of Nevada, California, Washington, Oregon, Utah. Wyoming is going to be mostly covered. And some snow totals reaching up toward the 2-foot mark there in portions of Montana. Significant snow here coming in the next 3 days. So here's your full pressure and precipitation map. Some strong storms off the East Coast should be making some good surf for all of you East Coast surfers. For example, Virginia Beach can expect to see some great waves. We're hoping for an offshore wind to stand those up. Get out your wetsuits. Heavy snows there coming to large portions of the Rocky Mountains. 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast is what you're looking at. Those will be wet snows also, folks. So here's your satellite imagery over the area as the sun rises over the eastern seaboard. By the way, you see this slanted line? The reason it's slanted is because of the Earth's axial tilt. You see, one of the problems that flat earthers have, and we've been having some hilarious conversations on Twitter about this, is that flat earthers are unable to explain day-night transitions and the seasons with a single theory. They'll just move the goalposts and they'll say, "Get vaccinated, Karen. Why do you listen to NASA's lies?" Although people thousands of years ago were already aware that the Earth is spherical, they just thought that the sun orbited the Earth back then. Tell that to Ptolemy. Ptolemy believes NASA's lies. That's the satellite imagery for the Western world. Give me back control. I demand it. Here's your NASA Ghost lightning mapper. Lightning pretty chill over the lower 48. Some lightning there over the Caribbean for the past 10 hours. And let's take a look at a real-time lightning map as we do daily. From blitzortung.org. Go ahead, say it aloud. Blitzortung.org, or if you want to pronounce it like a Bavarian, blitzortung.org. No terrestrial strikes in the U.S. at the moment. Let's move on to close this mother out. There's a U.S. Doppler radar map. Not a lot of precipitation happening at this moment in the U.S. We'll focus on the lower 48. There is the lower 48 clouds and fog. A lot of low clouds there over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Here is the lower 48 water vapor situation. That cold air continuing to be infused into especially the Great Lakes region, but being sent south there from central Canada. Some warmer weather to come. Here's your recap. U.S. Doppler radar, it's ground-based systems that show vertical motion of water droplets. .9 nanometer infrared radiation satellite from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. Water vapor map should clear things up when your Doppler is not giving you the full picture. The water vapor map should. Thanks for tuning in. Congratulations once again on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smashomash, signing off from the planet Smashtron 9. And may that solar wind be at your back.